Hey everybody, today on the channel I'm going to be reviewing the brand new AeroHunter Kestrel Flex saddle. Here we go. As the name implies, the AeroHunter Kestrel Flex is a little bit different from the original AeroHunter Kestrel with one big change: a pleated seat. What the pleated seat does is allows you to expand the seat to get a little bit more height from the top to the bottom band and give you a little bit more cup under your butt, which allows you to adjust the size of the saddle to your specific needs. And that can even change throughout the hunt. That doesn't have to be specific to that one hunt and then you have to change it a different time. Change it during your hunt. When the pleat is fully folded in, there is no difference between the AeroHunter Kestrel Flex and the AeroHunter Kestrel or Kite. But when the pleat is expanded, it kind of turns from like a size 1 to a 1.5 or a 2 to a 2.5 and allows that little bit extra room for somebody that's maybe in between sizes. For me, I'm a bigger guy, and I know that there are bigger guys that even use it than I am. But what it allows is if I really want to sit and be fully comfortable and feel like I have a larger seat, open up that pleat, and that allows me to have a larger seat to sit into on those longer sits, or when you really want to dig your knees into the tree, you just go for a nice long sit. Now when I'm leaning and I'm in kind of in ready position, which is a lot of the hunt, I don't need that fully expanded. There's enough material on the original footprint of all their saddles on the size 2 that I feel perfectly comfortable. So it's really just personal preference, but the Kestrel does not give you that option. So if you don't need that extra material, or you know that that size 1 or the size 2 fits you perfectly, then the AeroHunter Kestrel Flex may not be for you. You may be able to get along just fine with the Kite or the Kestrel. But if you like a little bit of adjustability in the size, or maybe you're an in-between size, or you're a bigger guy and you want a size even bigger than the size 2 that they offer in their other saddles, Kestrel Flex is a great option. So one of the first changes that AeroHunter made to the AeroHunter Kestrel Flex is this webbing bridge. It's a sewn webbing bridge that's fixed. They also have one that's removable with the carabiner on one side. I chose the fixed option because I don't mind stepping through the bridge. But it is an absolutely awesome addition to the Kestrel. And it just has this one buckle over here that basically you can adjust the length right here. I'll show you. Take a little bit of pressure off of it. You just feed the webbing through, however short you want to get it. Pull that through. Right there, we just shortened it. So you can adjust the bridge to your desired, hip pinch amount, your desired length. Kind of depends on basically your style. I prefer to run a pretty short bridge because I like to have my tether height low. I like to have as much clearance over the bridge as I can. So I'm running that tether height right around chest height, between chest and neck height. So the shorter the bridge, the lower I can get that tether on the tree. And so usually I'm running it like this. Let me adjust the camera. Usually this bridge is going to be probably a little bit more like that, which is a super short bridge. That's probably only about 23, 24 inches at the most. But then what that allows me to do, I'll show you here, is I can get that. Now there's actually a branch on the back side, but I can get that tether as low as I need to. So once I'm up in a standing position, I've got maximum clearance over my bridge. And that's especially for those shots that are to your left about 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, when you need as much clearance over the top of your bridge as you can get. So that's a huge feature, is being able to quickly adjust the length. And what I like about the sewn loops on the bridge are that there's no metal except for this little buckle right here, which could be easily fixed with some tape if you had a fixed length that you liked. that's not really in a place that's really going to get hit. Over on this side, which for a right-handed archer is going to be the side that has the bow string and all the contact over here, basically it allows you to eliminate all metal or any kind of big bulky knots from a tied and not spliced bridge. Absolutely awesome. Maximum clearance on the string side of the bow, especially important for a really long ammo recurve, which I'm shooting a 64-inch recurve. I need as much clearance on the bow side as I can get. Another change that AeroHunter made to their saddles, and it's featured here in the Kestrel Flex, is they've now added these ADF Raptor buckles. Super awesome buckles, a lot lighter, and still the same massive strength, more than you're ever going to need. Here on their leg loops, as with all their other saddles, the Kestrel, the Kite, and the Kestrel Flex, they've got a lot of extra material. So if you have super bulky winter clothes on, you can really adjust these really large or tighten down, and they've got a nice band that you can wrap this up and put over to hold all the extras so it's not flopping and blowing around in the wind. Another super great feature. The waist buckle is fully adjustable. It goes really big. I've got the size 2 here, and it can go down to pretty tight. And there's a nice little keeper over here on the other side that keeps all this extra webbing and ties it over here so you don't have any loose or flapping webbing around your waist when you're trying to shoot. So another huge change that they made to the Kestrel Flex over the Kestrel is they moved the lineman loop forward, which these used to be set, a little bit further back on the hip, and it used to have, you'd have to, hunt for it a little bit more, especially in the dark, looking for your lineman's loops, and that could kind of be a little bit of a pain in the rear, especially when you had really thick, bulky clothes on in the wintertime. But now you've got these set a little bit further forward, a little bit easier to find. One of the great changes that they made is on the inside here on the red sewn fabric, they have reflective thread. And what that allows you to do is if you're clipping into your lineman's or your bridge, you can physically see a dark spot going over the thread. So if you have your carabiner in there, you can see that it has passed through the loop. It makes for a way safer and more positive visual check to know that you've connected properly. Now, I personally have used all the saddles that they've made since the AeroHunter Evolution came out years ago. So I've used the AeroHunter Evolution, I've owned a couple Kestrels, I've owned a Kite, and now I've owned the AeroHunter Kestrel Flex. Comparing the 3 of their newer ones that are currently offered, the Kestrel Flex, and the Kite, there are definitely benefits to all 3 of them, and definitely some major advantages of the AeroHunter Kestrel Flex over their other 2 that are currently offered. The AeroHunter Kite is a mesh seat, which gives you a lot of breathability in warm weather, but what it also provides is a super, super quiet fabric. It's definitely the quietest of all the ones that I've used from AeroHunter, and it's just because there's almost no material to make any kind of swishing sound or any kind of fabric noise when brushed against other material. The AeroHunter Kestrel is made out of a Cordura fabric, a few different panels sewn together. Cordura, as most people know, is a little bit noisier fabric when brushed against maybe tree bark or when brushed against other material. It can make a swishy sound, which I always thought in my head it was a little bit bigger deal, but really in real world applications, there's very few times where you actually contact your saddle with anything else, especially when you're up in a tree. Your rear end's hanging out over the wide open nothing. So there's really not much of a chance of you getting material noise. The AeroHunter Kestrel Flex is a little bit different material even yet than the Kestrel. It's a little bit more of a slick finish, a little bit maybe swishier sound. It's hard to describe, but it is definitely different than the Cordura or the Kite, the mesh Kite. So yes, it does make some noise. Probably about the same as the Kestrel, a little bit different noise. It's hard to describe. Overall, not a game changer for me. The noise is no difference. When I'm sitting here, makes 0 noise. I'm even adjusting my weight side to side, swinging around the tree. There's no noise, so it's not a big deal. The only time that I can maybe see it being a deal and that's the same with the Kestrel, is if you wear your saddle walking in and you're busting through brush, it's a super quiet, cold morning, and a branch or a twig scratches along the outside material of your saddle. It may make a slight noise, but honestly, from 50 yards out, there's going to be no audible sound if you're going slow and you're minimizing the contact between your saddle and the brush. But if you pack in your saddle and put it on at the base of the tree, as a lot of people do, no big deal. And it's still a super light saddle that allows you to wear it in comfortably without you really even noticing that it's there, which is a great option. That's what I personally do. So that when I get to the base of the tree, I undaisy chain my lineman's rope, hook it on, and start setting my sticks, and I'm up the tree. Okay, so now what I want to show is kind of the difference between the pleat closed and pleat open, just to kind of show you the difference in the size that you're going to get. All right, so this is a demonstration of pleat open versus pleat closed. This is with the pleat basically in the closed position. You can see where this bottom strap contacts kind of the upper to mid thigh region. Waistband is right there on the waist. Smallest profile that the Kestrel Flex offers. Now, if you look, when I open up the pleat, that saddle now went down to lower thigh and still up here at my waistband. So what that does is allows more cup underneath your seat and allows you to have a little bit more support through the entire region from the thigh to the waist. If you want a little bit more back support, you can pull it up, still have that bottom strap right there contacting a mid-thigh, but have this waistband up to your lower back and give you a little bit more support when you're leaning back into your saddle. Really, like I said earlier, it comes down to personal preference. Whatever you like, the Kestrel Flex will allow. Now, because of the pleat, the seat doesn't have the side adjusters to change the length of the bottom strap. Basically, the need for those was eliminated by being able to adjust the cup on your butt by opening or shutting the pleat. That's just a little bit less material to get in the way here on the sides. Once again, eliminating a little bit more of that incidental contact between other equipment, your bow on the side of your saddle, just eliminating hardware that you could bang into or contact into something and make noise. One great way to adjust the cup underneath your butt without using the pleat and not having the side adjusters, if you have the webbing bridge like I do here, it's got a really small sewn eye. I'll try to show you. It's got a really small sewn eye, and it holds really well on the material of the bridge loops. So what you do is, if you want a little bit more cup underneath your thigh, move this down to where it's pulling more on the bottom. If you want a little bit more pull on your back, slide this up to where it's toward the top of the bridge loop and it's pulling more on your upper band. So you can kind of see, if I adjust it down, it's pulling more evenly, pulling a little bit more on my butt than up here on the waist. And what that allows is for you to kind of micro adjust the angle of the saddle and where you're feeling the pressure on your thigh or your waist. Do that on both sides, kind of roughly the same, and sit back into it to kind of set your bridge loops right here with your webbing. And like right there, I have a lot more pressure on my thigh than I do up here on my waist. Adjust this to the upper portion of the bridge and definitely feel a lot more pressure on my waist than on my thighs. So if I'm kind of wanting to lean more against my back band, just do that. If I'm wanting to sit more, contact it right there, kind of hold it, sit into it, boom. Definitely more pressure underneath my butt. So that basically gives you the option of kind of micro-tuning the fit to your particular needs. So in my personal opinion, the AeroHunter Kestrel Flex saddle is a massive upgrade to the original Kestrel saddle. Nothing wrong with the original Kestrel, and honestly, I would still run it, but I'm going to be using the AeroHunter Kestrel Flex saddle for this fall when I'm up in the tree, just giving it a full rundown through the season. And I'll probably give you a more in-depth review after I've used it in real-world situations for a while. But for now, this saddle is nailing every issue I've ever had with any other saddle. And I'm telling you, the comfort of this saddle, even compared to the Kite and the Kestrel, man, it's just awesome. Nothing wrong with the other two saddles, but man, being able to fine tune the exact amount of fabric you have under your rear end to give you that comfort when you're suspended up in a tree, it's awesome. So since I've been dabbling with saddle hunting and a lot more serious recently, but for the past like 6 or 7 years of playing around with saddles, I've owned the AeroHunter Evolution, the AeroHunter Kestrel, the Kite, the Kestrel Flex. I've owned a tethered Mantis. I've owned multiple trophy line saddles, and I've got to say this one probably is my favorite. The comfort is second to none. It's got the camo pattern options that I love. Right here you saw that I'm using the Predator Fall Gray. They also offered in broadside and ASAT camo. All great options. They've really expanded their camo lineup for the AeroHunter Kestrel Flex. Very happy about that. So there's really nothing that I can see yet that's a downfall of this. The saddle is just an absolutely awesome saddle. If you're looking for a saddle with a lot of options to fine tune your comfort and make sure that this is going to fit you for years to come and in every situation when in a tree, you got to get it. It's an awesome saddle. Give it a try. Go to AeroHunter, check it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I'm definitely not. Thanks everybody for watching.